Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I trust we're all doing well today. Good afternoon, Clement. Good afternoon, Dami. Good afternoon, Michael. Good afternoon, Sage. I hope we're all doing well this wonderful afternoon. So this is our final class for digital marketing, and I just want to do like a liveliness check just to see if we're excited to, finally get to the end of the class. I totally admire everyone who has actually participated in this from the start till the end. I have struggled with doing like online classes personally, and I know what it takes to actually, you know, put in efforts, joining every weekend, and even working on the assignment. So really, thumbs up to everyone who has participated one way or the other. Okay, so we can put like emojis in the comments and the comment section just to indicate that we are live and we're engaged and we're ready to take the last class. Okay, so I will just go straight into it. I will present my screen, and please just indicate the moment you can see my screen. Okay. Please, can you see my screen? Mr. Godwin, can you just confirm if you
Yes,
can?
yes.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so going straight into it, right? I'm not going to spend so much time in doing like a recap, but overall, this last couple of weeks, this is the sixth class, so this is the sixth week. In the last 6 weeks, what we have been discussing generally has been about digital marketing. In the first week, we discussed about digital marketing and how it's what it is, how it is an umbrella term for all digital activities or digital advertising and marketing activities. We looked at the different channels for digital marketing, and we also discussed that social media, while it's probably the most popular element of digital marketing, is not the only form of digital marketing. In the next class, in the second week, we discussed the power of Google and how Google can be used to drive visibility for your business. The next week, we discussed email marketing. The week after that, we discussed, setting up a full digital marketing campaign. And last week, we discussed and we explored how to bridge your business with the digital world. What we focused on last week was first thing was integration, so offline to online integration, using tools like QR codes, using tools like QR codes on flyers, posters, even using like your in-store signs to drive digital engagements and drive customers straight to, like, let's say your WhatsApp, your Instagram page, your payment link. We also discussed um digital payments generally and how we can set up payments in a way that reduces error and reduces the number of risk you could possibly encounter. We talked about platforms that you could explore in trying to generate payment links, we also looked at how we can create like a QR code embedment into your payment link. So you have a QR code that people can scan and it takes them straight to like your payment link. And the last thing we discussed last week was then SMS marketing and how that can be a nice to have in your offline to online integration, and how you can use that to drive people to your store, and also use that as a way to just connect and connect with your audience better, right? We looked at how to get phone numbers ethically, how the best ways to send targeted promotions, reminders, and basically just keep your brand top of mind with your customers. So before we go into this week, right, Mr. Godwin, I think the first poll, we can just start with the first poll. Again, like we usually do in our classes, the poll isn't really like a yes or no, right or wrong type situation. I kind of want to use this to gauge our understanding of what we discussed last week. So it's a very straight to the point question, which is, what is one simple way we have learned to connect your offline customers to your online presence? So yeah, we can just select, I mean, you can only select one. I guess it would be easy to just say that there's just one answer. Okay, Mr. Godwin, all right. All right, thank you. So the people, everyone who participated in the poll, indicated, and this is something we really discussed last week. We discussed that one of the easiest ways to connect your offline activities to an online engagement is to probably use a QR code. You can embed that in your flyers, your posters, in any of your offline materials. It's just a simple way to drive digital engagement. We've seen how brands and services like restaurants, for example, would use QR codes to show people their menu to simplify the decision-making process. So that's kind of the example we gave last week on how you can simply just do offline to online integration using QR codes. Okay, thank you very much. So let's take a look at last week's assignments before we go into what we have for this week. And last week's assignment was to, in one page, describe how you connect your offline business with your online presence. So just as a general recap, what we always try to do with every week assignment or every weekly assignment is we try and gauge our understanding of everything that we discussed. So this assignment basically was just you defining how you would drive offline, how you would drive online activity using offline activities as well. So offline to online integration, right? We asked, how would you encourage customers at your shop or event to take digital actions? What tools would you use? And how do you plan to collect your customer numbers and stay in touch after the sale? And just to look at the assignment from last week, right? The one assignment that we got was from Waliat Mashood. What I'm going to try and do is to just to show us what this person did. So I think something we've really discussed is how in sending in assignments, it's usually always better to ensure that it's easy to understand. And I kind of like that about this assignment. If I'm to give any feedback on this, right, it's how you constantly in every activity, every digital marketing activity that you're doing, you're starting with a goal. I would have loved to see you defining what your business is, who your target audience is, and what your goal is. That will give more credence into you saying you want to encourage customers to take digital action, for example. Everything that you have said in your assignment is great, but as a feedback, I think that in whatever you're trying to do, and this is the point I want to really iterate, whatever you're trying to do in relation to digital marketing, it's very important that you are starting with a definition of what your objectives are and who your audience is and where you are trying to reach them. That's the one thing that is really missing from this assignment. But I think that this assignment was a good attempt in trying to answer the questions. So congratulations, Waliat Mashood. Okay, now let's go straight into our focus for today. Now, today being the last class, the thing that what we really want to discuss would be reporting, analytics, and optimization. And at the end of today's class, what I would really like is for everyone who is present to understand what we mean by reporting and analytics in digital marketing. We will be discussing what you are going to be tracking when you are trying to do reports, how to interpret data, and basically how to use insights to grow your business. When we're talking about reporting, analytics, and optimization, it's basically, in summary, right, it is taking all the numbers and performance metrics of your campaign, looking at it and seeing how you can actually interpret that into steps and how that informs how your campaign will be reworked in trying to drive your objectives. So at the end of this class, I would love that everyone who is participating today would learn what reporting and analytics mean in very simple terms. Another thing we're going to be learning is why both of these are essential for measuring growth and making better marketing decisions. Just to reiterate another point that we've made across the length of this course for the last 6 weeks is that for every digital marketing activity that you're doing, there is one of the reasons why it's preferred rather than other forms of marketing is how you can actually measure in real time and how your metrics can help you make better marketing decisions. We're also going to be learning how to optimize campaigns based on performance. We'll be doing this using specific case studies and discussions. And you would also then be looking at how your numbers and the kinds of numbers you are getting from your campaign can help you improve your messaging, your content, and also your spending. Okay. So going straight into what reporting, analytics, and optimization is. But before we go into that, Mr. Godwin, please, could you help us with the second poll very quickly? If you're just joining us, just as a quick recap of what we've been discussing so far, we did a recap on everything we've discussed, and we've also mentioned that this week and this particular class was speaking on reporting and analytics. So this particular poll question is just trying to gauge our understanding of reporting and also trying to gauge our experience with what we call reporting. So have you ever had to put together a marketing report for your business? It might not necessarily be for your business. It could be for a business that you've worked with or worked for. And again, there's this particular poll has no right answer. It's just to gauge where we are in relation to what we're trying to discuss. Okay, Mr. Gordon, could you help us with the poll results? Okay. So someone said that they have done a weekly report. So it means that a lot of things we'll be discussing in the course of this lecture or lesson rather is something that will be a lot of things that you would have heard of before. Someone said that they have done a marketing report for their business, but occasionally it's not something that they do very regularly, like a weekly report. Someone also said that, oh, they've not done, but they know what it involves, which is actually what we'll be discussing today, what you need to be looking out for when trying to put together your report. And a larger chunk of the class actually said that they've never created a report, which is fine, right? One of the things you should realize about putting together a marketing report is that there are 1,000,001 templates on the internet, and there is no hard and fast rule in trying to put together a report. What's the most important thing in putting together a report is the understanding of whoever is going to read the report. So you need to first take into consideration who you're writing the report for. Some people tend to prefer a lot of detail in their marketing reports. They want to see everything, while some people just want to see top line, right? So it's very important in trying to put together a marketing report to understand what the necessary things to measure and how to use those or how to use that information that you are getting to drive better campaign performance. The format of your report in and itself, it can take any shape and form, right? It really depends on the level of work that you're doing and who you're actually doing the report for. But the most important thing in reporting, in analytics and optimization is knowing how to use the data and how to get the data. So going straight into it, right? Trying to just define everything that we've been talking about. What is reporting? Reporting is simply gathering your campaign numbers. How many people saw your ad? How many people clicked? How many people took a final action? Did they buy? Did they sign up? Did they register? And basically, it is you taking all of these numbers and laying them out so you can see patterns. The purpose of doing reports is trying to figure out what happened without any form of judgment. When you're putting together a report, there is no report should exclude any form of bias. You are simply taking performance and putting it in a very clear and concise way, right? For some people, what they prefer to do is that they prefer to put reports in tables. Some people will prefer to put reports in graphs so that it's easy to visualize, right? But when you're putting together a report, the first thing you are trying to do is to put together campaign numbers to explain what happened. You're not trying to interpret what happened. You just simply need to know what happened. So by what happened, you are simply just taking out your campaign performance numbers. So if you run a campaign that was focused on views, for example, in trying to report what happened, all you are expressing is the number of people, how many people watched till the end, how many people watched for like 5 seconds, That is basically what reporting is, right? The purpose of doing all of this is so that you can see which of your efforts are not working and which of them aren't. So um let's go back to when we were talking about setting up your campaign, right? And knowing that first things first, you need to have an objective. In defining your objective, you define your objective using numbers and being very, very numerical with it. So if, for example, your objective is awareness, to try and measure your awareness, you need to have specific numbers. How many people are you trying to reach? How many impressions are you trying to get? That's just a simple example, right? And in trying to set up your campaign, you would have, we discussed how you would need to do like different ad sets and having, defining your audience so that you can actually target and send the ads to the right types of people. So if, for example, you've broken down your campaign into different ad sets, you're trying to reach this type of audience and this type of audience with different creatives. What you are doing with reporting is to look at that both ad sets or both ads that you are running and trying to see what worked and what did not work so that you can then make concrete decision, right? And just again to reiterate something that we've said all throughout this course is that when you are doing digital marketing, you can be a lot more specific in what you're trying to achieve, right? And that's where reporting comes in, is because you're then trying to track everything that you've said that you want to achieve. So there are different types of reports, right? One easy way to look at reports is to break it down by use. So you can have a report specific to a promotion or an ad. Basically, it's a campaign report. So you're running a report for a Ramadan campaign that you ran. That is a campaign report. Another type of report is a weekly report. This gives you a quick snapshot of your week in, week out performance. This makes you understand what works in the previous week and what you can actually do in the going into the next week that will make your performance better than the previous week. Monthly report is the same, but it's over a longer period of time. You can also have like seasonal reports that compares your results across different seasons. So for example, you want to compare the kind of, if you're driving sales, you want to compare your Easter campaign to your Christmas campaign. Which one performed better? Which one performed? What can we learn from both of them and how can we improve the next seasonal campaign? You can also have reports based on performance metrics. You want to run a report that is tailored to just showing you the number of people that visited your website, or maybe you want to run a report that is tailored on defining all your engagement. So how many people liked, how many people viewed your creative till the end, all of that jazz. So reporting basically is just detailing what happened without any form of bias. Now, analytics is when you now take those report numbers and you now dig into why that happened, right? For example, you might see that you have high clicks but low sales, right? The report in itself, and when you go to your reporting dashboard, it will most probably not tell you why you have high clicks and low sales. It will just tell you that you have high clicks and low sales. Now, analytics is what helps you find out if the reason why you're having low sales is because you are you targeted the wrong audience, or maybe the message was bad, or it could be in your campaign setup. Maybe something wasn't set up correctly, and that's leading to you having high clicks but no sales, or low sales rather, right? Analytics is done when you then break down your data by audience. So you've said that 10,000 people viewed your campaign, right? Analytics is when you then take down that 10,000 and break it down by age. What's the age group of this 10,000? How many people are between the ages of 18 to 35? If you have 50% of your 10,000, that's 5,000 of them between the age of 18 to 25, for example, it would mean that that age group resonates more with your ad. It will probably mean that you should be serving more ads to that age range. So looking at your age, gender, location, comparing the different creatives that you are running, that's analytics. Analytics is what helps you see what is working from your report. It gives you an idea of what to fix. And the next element is then optimization. Optimization is the process of improving your campaign results based on what your report and analytics review. So you've done a report, and then you've been able to analyze your reports using different metrics to give more insight into what your campaign performed and how it performed, right? And then when you are able to find out why your campaign, for example, did not perform well, optimization is taking that information and then using it to rework your ads so that it can perform better. And that's one of the other advantages of digital compared to different elements of marketing, right? With you, digital is perhaps one of the only forms of marketing where you can actually make edits in between. You can actually probably do this with other forms of marketing, but with digital, you are doing this with a lot more data and a lot more accurate data. So optimization is you understanding that if your ad isn't getting enough clicks, you might need to maybe change the headline. If it's costing you to reach more people, you might need to adjust your targeting. Basically, optimization is about testing and tweaking to get better outcomes. It's about finding how to get more results for less money. So if you remember when we said at the start of this course that digital marketing isn't a one-off, optimization is what makes digital marketing not a one-off, right? Optimization is not a one-time fix. It's something that you have to continuously do to increase your efficiency and performance. So getting your said results is not necessarily the end of your campaign. Oftentimes, even if you're on track to reaching your KPIs, it might be important for you to look at your performance and see how you can actually drive better to do beyond what your KPIs are. So optimization is that chance where you are able to look at real-time data and then make tweaks with you analyzing that information. So reporting is simply what happened. Analytics is trying to find out why what happened. And optimization is using everything you've learned from what happened to why and trying to improve your campaign setup. Simply, that is long and short what we are talking about. Now, going straight into where you can actually find your reports. Every platform that you're advertising on has a report or insights area, and that's where you would get any form of reports, right? For Meta, you can actually get your reports in Meta Business Suite, where you just go straight to Ad Manager reports, and it basically gives you a custom dashboard of everything that you tell you your reach, your CPC, CTR, return on ad spend, everything. You basically just select the metrics that you want to see. You'll be seeing, when you select the metrics that you want to see, you most probably see it in your campaign dashboard. So your campaign dashboard is where you would get all your numbers. You can either export that as a PNG or as an image, or what some other people do is that they export it as an Excel and they put it into some software to come up with graphs, charts, just to help visualize the information. On X, it's same thing in your analytics dashboard. So the easiest way to find a report and to find your campaign performance is in your analytics dashboard, either on Meta, either on Google, either on X, whatever platform you are using, even for programmatic advertising. Whatever digital platform you are running an ad on has a reporting dashboard that gives you all your numbers, from the number of people you've reached to the percentage of people that are actually clicking on your ad. Now, the other way to get reports is by using third-party platforms. Now, what these third-party platforms do is that they help you track, combine, and understand your digital marketing results. So these platforms basically would combine all your campaigns, and it's usually better to do this when you have a multi-level campaign. So you are running, sorry, a multi-channel campaign, when you're running campaigns on different digital marketing platforms, from social media to email to content. Platforms like this puts everything together and gives you a snapshot, right? So it combines data from multiple platforms. It shows you your key numbers in easy dashboards. It can auto-generate your reports. It helps you download and share your reports. And it also helps you spot what's working or what's not. So this is a more automated way to doing reports. It's just that a lot of these platforms are subscription-based. They usually would have a free trial a free trial range of 7 to 30 days. It really depends on the platform. But the simplest way to do this is just to go to any of these platforms. So I've highlighted some of them. So Hootsuite is one of them. You would go to Hootsuite, sign up. It'll ask you a couple of details. It's free to sign up. They will give you a trial version of maybe 14 days. Some platforms will say 7 days. Some platforms go as far as giving you 30 days. I think Sprout Social is 30 days. Sprinklers, I think Sprinkler is 14 days. Hootsuite is, I think, 14 to 30 days. I'm not really sure anymore. But you can actually try any of these platforms, connect all your social media channels, all your digital channels. And the way to connect your digital channels is by logging in. So to ask you, do you want to connect your Facebook? Do you want to connect your Facebook campaign or your Facebook numbers? All you have to do is to log into Facebook on that platform. It's like when you're trying to sign into Google using your signed in Gmail. That's basically what it is. So you sign in with your account and connect all your social media and digital channels to it, and it basically pulls all your information in one spot. So this is a more straightforward way in trying to find reports. The other way, like we discussed in the previous slide, is going to each analytics dashboard for every platform that you are using and then manually extracting that data. So now we're going into the more, of the part of the class that speaks to what you will be measuring and what you will be optimizing for. So essentially, what I've basically tried to do with this class is to give us an idea of what reporting, optimization, and analytics is. And then we're now going straight into what you should be measuring. Now, the purpose of doing this is coming from the understanding that not everybody who is on this class might be handling their digital marketing efforts by themselves, right? What I've come to realize is that it's more important to know the right thing to track and best ways to optimize. And you can build your reporting template however you want. You can use any template from the internet, but the template is less important if you do not really understand what you're trying to measure and how you should optimize. Okay, so the first thing or the first type of campaign that we will be looking at in terms of like reporting is an awareness campaign. So let's say you've run an awareness campaign. What should you be looking out to measure, and what is your key metric basically? So for an awareness campaign, you will be measuring reach and impressions. And an awareness campaign basically, like we discussed when we're talking about campaign setup and we discussed the different funnels, one of the key things we discussed was that awareness is the top of your funnel. Awareness is where you attract people, is where you engage them. And the key things you'll be measuring is reach. Reach is the unique people that saw your ad, and impressions counts as every time your ad was shown. So let me simplify that. Impression is the total number of times that the ad appeared on your screen. Reach counts the number of screens. So let's say your ad reached 10,000 people. That could mean that ad reached 10,000 people, but each person saw that ad a minimum of 2 times. So it means that your impression is 20,000. So impressions is usually more than reach. These metrics measure your campaign's footprints and are especially important during your awareness campaigns. So an awareness campaign is when you are just getting started and letting people know that you have a service, product, or a brand, right? You're letting people know that you exist or letting people know that you're running a promo. So it's the first thing that you're most probably doing. The key metric is called CPM, which is cost per thousand impressions. And I think we've touched on this when we're speaking about the different Google channels. And CPM basically means that you would be charged every time your ad is seen by 1,000 people. And to calculate CPM, you basically divide your impressions by your total spend. So it's total spend over impressions times 1,000, because again, the cost is per every 1,000 person, right? So a lower CPM means that you are getting more visibility for less money, and that's actually crucial for your awareness campaigns. So for your awareness campaigns, you want to ensure that your CPM is low. If your CPM is very high, it means that you are paying more for people to see, right? And it's actually very, very crucial when you want to build brand awareness affordably. Remember when we're saying that digital marketing is it can be cheap, it can be cost effective, but it can also be cost intensive, right? A lower CPM is very crucial when you want to build brand awareness affordably, especially when you're a small business and you're just trying to grow recognition in a crowded market. So when you have a lot of competition and all of you are probably running ads at the same time, one key thing for you as a business within that space is to try and keep your CPM costs low. So the lower it is, the better it is for you. So let's look at a quick case study of an awareness campaign that was run by a local business and what they saw with their campaign and how we can help them optimize. So Sweet Loaf Bakery is in Surulere, and Sweet Loaf Bakery spent 150K on Facebook ads targeting all of Lagos. The ads use still images of bread loaves and text-heavy captions. Now, this is the result that they got. They reached by spending 150K, they reached 100,000 people with 100,000 impressions, giving them a CPM of 1,500. Now, for a small business, a CPM of 1,500 is ridiculously high. Your average CPM for Meta, for example, should be between it can be anything between 100 and 500, really depending on your campaign setup and your bid and the time of the season or the season when you're running the campaign. However, a CPM of 1,005 generally is high. So what we are able to analyze from how this campaign was set up is that they did wide targeting, which made them compete for expressive impressions, right? They should have made their targeting a lot more niche. So static images do not stop the scroll. What that means is when the customer behavior for social media, for example, is that everyone is scrolling, right? When people stop, it means that the creative was good enough for them to actually stop and watch, right? You're not actively looking for a brand, a product, a service. You are basically scrolling, right? And people are not actively trying to look for businesses in that moment. So your creative has to be good enough for people to actually stop. So maybe something they could have done was maybe using videos instead of static images. Another thing we've noticed from what we can see is that the bakery did not test different creatives or limit the location to just Surulere. They did a broad targeting of just all of Lagos. However, there's predominantly in Surulere. For a brand that doesn't have such a high budget, it makes more sense to actually limit your spend to within Surulere. So how Sweet Loaf Bakery can now optimize their campaign from the reports that they are getting from the campaign that they've run is that they can narrow their target to Surulere plus 5 kilometers. So it's the whole of Surulere and a 5-kilometer radius outside of that. Then another thing they can do is to use short videos of bread coming out of the oven, just kind of like trying to entice people. So you're upgrading the asset that you're promoting from static images to videos. And then you can possibly test a different copy with a better call to action. One thing that is not clear from everything that we can tell from this case study is that we are not very sure on what kind of call to action that you are using, right? So you can possibly change that as well. When you do all of this, I'm very certain that your CPM is going to reduce. If your CPM reduces, it means that you will get more impressions. So you spend the same amount of money, but you will get more impressions and you reach more people if your CPM comes down. So in narrowing down your targets to just Surulere, using a better creative, all of that is done simply to reduce the CPM rates, right? But this bakery would not have known any of this if they did not have the information that we are seeing in their results. They can clearly tell that they spent 150,000 naira, but they only reach 100,000 people, right? It means that you are spending a lot of money to reach lesser people, right? When you can quickly do some things to make your CPM come down. So an understanding of what the CPM is and what the CPM rate is and what you should be looking out for as someone who is trying to do digital marketing for a small business is knowing that CPM should be lower, right? You don't necessarily, like, if you now know that your CPM should be low and you're seeing that you're seeing a CPM of 1,000 plus, that should give you an idea of, from a reporting point of view that this is high. Now, in trying to find out why that is high is then doing this analysis and looking at your targeting, the kind of creatives you used, and maybe possibly looking at different copies. So reporting is stating that you have 100,000 people reached and 100,000 impressions and a CPM of 1,500. Doing an analysis is trying to understand why you got a CPM of 1,500, and optimizing is taking your analysis and then making edits to your campaign that helps you gain better results. So that, in this nutshell, that is what we refer to as optimization, or rather, that's what we refer to as reporting, analytics, and optimization. These three things go hand in hand. Okay, so the next thing you should know when trying to do a report is understanding traffic, clicks, and CTR. So if you're running a campaign where the objective is to get people to take an action outside of the digital channel, so you want them to click your ad to go to your website, that's a traffic campaign. You would use a traffic campaign when you're trying to drive conversions or consideration, right? So the first one we discussed was awareness, and that's the first part of your funnel. This now speaks more to, how you want to get people to take specific actions. So clicks is what you would use to measure how many people move from your ad to your website or your landing page or your chat. So if your objective is you want them to send a message, when they click, that is recognized as an action. So if they're sending a message, they click on your ad, it takes them straight to WhatsApp. That's a successful action. So a click shows genuine interest. It shows that someone wanted more information. The key metric for a traffic campaign, a clicks campaign, is CPC, and CPC means cost per click, and this is because you are being charged for every click. For CPM, you're being charged for every 1,000 impressions. So you are optimizing a CPM or an awareness campaign differently from the way you'll be optimizing a conversions or a traffic related campaign, right? And the formula for calculating CPC is by dividing your total spend by clicks. So if your total spend is 5,000 naira and you got 10 clicks, then it means that your CPC is 500. So it means that you paid 500 naira for every click that you got, right? Now, the next thing you possibly need to measure and report on when you are running this type of campaign is your click-through rate. Now, your click-through rate tells you how compelling your ad is at a glance. Basically, if you're a higher click-through rate or a higher CTR means that your ad is resonating with people and is prompting them to act. If your CTR is low, it means that they've seen the ad, but they are not actually clicking through to go straight into your website. So the click-through rate gives you the percentage of people that are actually clicking and taking an action, while clicks just tells you the total number of clicks. So the formula for calculating click-through rate is clicks divided by impressions times 100%, which basically it tells you that click-through rate is measured in percentage. So it's a percent, it gives you a percentage. So if your number of clicks is, let's say, 300 and your click-through rate is 6.5, then that kind of shows you that it resonated better compared to an ad that your click-through rate is probably 1.5, right? So just to recap, your CPM should be lower, your CTR or click-through rate should be higher, right? Your CTR tells you how effective your clicks are, because sometimes you'll be getting clicks, but your CTR is showing you that, yeah, they're clicking, but they're not really making any, it's not really leading to anything. It's not very compelling compared to the number of people that have actually seen it. Okay. So let's quickly look at another case study. This case study is for Tayo's handmade slippers. And so Tayo is a leather slipper seller that makes a handmade leather slipper seller. Tayo ran Instagram ads with a 50,000 naira budget that linked her ads to her WhatsApp. So what she did was that she used a single static photo and a generic caption and got 90 clicks. her CPC, the result here is that her CPC is 555. Now, in trying to just do a quick analysis, right? There really is no urgency in how she set up her ad. She just basically set up an ad and linked it to WhatsApp. But if you remember when we were talking about using urgency to drive your call to actions, right? Um, Having a higher CPC means that you're paying more. So it means that this amount can actually come down, like you can bring this amount down, and that would mean that will result in you getting more clicks. But for you to do that, she needs to first understand that she had poor ad visuals and no clear urgency. That means that a lot of people scrolled past. Another thing was that her audience wasn't really defined, right? She targeted everyone in Nigeria aged 18 to 45. So, trying to optimize, what she can do is to use a video or a carousel showing how slippers are made and worn. So you are not just driving awareness, but you're also driving consideration by showing the quality of material. Then instead of just adding a link to her WhatsApp, she can just add define that as with a CTA called chat to order. So when people are seeing her ads, they're not just saying click here, right? It's clear that if you click on this, you are going to be going straight to WhatsApp to chat to order. She can also narrow down her age, gender to match like the typical buyers of her products. Now, the next type of campaign will be a campaign driven around engagement or views. A campaign like this is most probably going to be driving engagement or interaction with your brand, right? Engagement includes likes, comments, shares, saves, video views, any action that shows that your content struck a chord. The key metric for engagement is cost per engagement. So that's what you need to be looking out for in your reporting. A low CPE means that your content is relatable, engaging, and effective. What that means is that you're paying less for people to engage. It means that with or without your ad, people would actually engage. If your ad wasn't engaging and you're paying more to get people to engage, your CPE will be high. So for engagement-related campaigns, when your objective is trying to get people to engage, comment, share, like, you need to ensure that this is on the low side. So a successful CPE campaign or a successful engagement campaign is where your cost per engagement is low. Same thing with cost per views, which is CPV, which is useful for video campaigns. This is not more useful for a YouTube campaign, for example, where you're trying to get people to view or watch videos. CPV measures how much you're paying per video view. And this is actually very useful for the storytelling element of digital marketing. So you're trying to get people to connect with your brand. You have a good story that you are telling, and you're running ads that's kind of like connecting you to people that would resonate with this. CPV tells you that, yeah, if your CPV is low, it simply means that your audience you are spending less money to connect with your potential audience. A higher CPV means that you need to now probably optimize your campaign. So in trying to make your campaign better for engagement and views, you need to try and bring down your cost for engagement and cost for views. Okay. So the case study for engagement and views is by a studio or a hair salon called Call Up Studio. So Call Up Studio ran a Facebook ad with 80,000 naira, showing a single 60-second tutorial clip with no captions. So you put a 60-second video, no captions, and what they got was 400 total engagements and a CPE of 200 naira. So they paid 200 naira per engagement. Now, if we're going to look at this, just a simple analysis of what she did, having a long uncaptioned video would lose viewers early. Something about optimization is you need to understand, or rather something about analytics in trying to optimize your campaign better, is that you also need to understand your user behavior. So these days, people tend to watch videos that are shorter, so 10 to 15 seconds would work better. So when you're running a campaign that is heavy on engagement and views, you need to take into consideration content that would be easy for people to consume. Nobody really wants to see an ad for a minute plus, right? Unless your ad is really interesting, most people are not going to stay till the end, which would then increase your CPE. So in trying to optimize, and when we're saying optimize, we're basically saying, how do you bring down your cost for engagement and views? So what you can do is that you can break the tutorial into 15-second clips, making it shorter. And you can then put on-screen text that shows book for 5,000 naira. Another thing you can do in optimizing your campaign is creating lookalike audiences of your past clients. What that means is that you are basically sourcing for similar people. So if me and everybody on this call currently has watched and engaged with your brand, what a lookalike audience is going to do is able to create a similar profile to all of us that have viewed the ad and then serve the ads to those people, right? What this means is that you've already logged in engagement with these people. If you keep serving the ads to the same people, your cost per engagement is going to increase. However, if you serve it to a new type of audience who are very similar to the ones who are already engaged, then you can bring down your CPE. Also, another way to bring down your CPE is to also ensure that the content is done in a way that, it just takes them and engages them and it doesn't take too much of their time. Okay. And the last thing you should be looking out for in terms of campaign analytics is conversions. Basically, conversion is where your bottom line is. It is you measuring key actions that you want people to take, like purchasing, sign-ups, booking. It's the moment where everything that you've been doing previously pays off. The key metric for conversions is cost per acquisition, and cost per acquisition is um calculated by dividing your total spend by the number of conversions you've gotten. So conversion is a metric that you would get. You get the number of people that actually converted, and then to get your cost per acquisition, which is the cost that you are spending per every person that you are acquiring as a new customer, which is basically your total spend divided by your number of people that you've converted. So a lower CPA means that you are spending means that you're getting more sales for less ad spend. A higher CPA means that you are getting sales for more ad spend. So in terms of optimizing for a conversion campaign, you are trying to ensure that you are spending less money. Okay. So, Mr. Godwin, can we have the third poll before we go into discussions? So please, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Also, the discussions after this will be, like we've done in the previous classes, interactive. If you discuss and your point is, great, we would also be rewarding you with airtime. So that's supposed to be like an incentive. Okay, thank you. Yep. The right answer for this is that it lowers your cost by improving your targeting or creatives. So that's basically what optimization is you figuring out the best way to get the best results for less, right? However, it's not always less. For example, for CTR, you're optimizing to ensure that your CTR is higher. But for CPE, CPM, you are trying to bring that cost down just to show that, yeah, you're spending less to try and get better results. And digital marketing is perhaps the only element of marketing that gives you that in terms of like concrete numbers. Okay, thank you very much for the participation, guys. So now we're going straight into what the discussions are. So this is a simple case study. I want anyone on the call, anyone present, to try and just, I would read through the question, but the objective is to try and come up with a strategy that you would use in trying to optimize a campaign with this kind of results. So a local shoe vendor launched a digital campaign during Ramadan to build awareness for their festive footwear collection. Please, if you want to respond, just raise your hands in the comments, and Mr. Godwin, or rather raise your hands and Mr. Godwin will give you access to speak. A local shoe vendor launched a digital campaign during Ramadan to build brand awareness for their festive footwear collection. The campaign ran for 10 days on Instagram and Facebook using static image carousels and short video reels. So they combined images and videos and short video reels, which was not a bad idea. The vendor had 50,000 as their budget, and the campaign targeted fashion-conscious young adults ages 20 to 35 in Lagos and Abuja. So they spent 50,000, they were able to reach 48,000 people and got an impressions of 132,000. Their CPM is 375 naira. Engagements was 2,300 in total, and their cost per engagement is 21 naira 74 kobo. They got 350 link clicks, and their cost per link or cost per click rather is 142 naira, and their click-through rate is 0.49. Now, what metric would you take out of the campaign performance, and how do you want to improve on that? So you would pick, out of everything that has been mentioned here, what is the most obvious thing that you think needs to be worked on or optimized on, and what strategy would you recommend in trying to optimize? Does anyone want to try? Okay, Mr. Clements, you have your hands up.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Shope.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah. Okay. So, like you always say, right? There's no, there's no correct answer, but
Yeah,
just give it a try, right? So, I just want to try my luck, and
no
okay.
problem.
So looking at this thing, right? Looking at the campaign performance metrics, right? One key metrics that stand out for, for one key metric that I would want to improve, right, in this campaign is I think it's going to be the click-through rate, right?
Okay.
So the reason why I say this is the click-through rate is quite low because at 0.49%, this clearly indicates that while the campaign reached many people, because the reach is quite impressive, 48,000, right? So why the campaign reached many people and had strong engagement, because I can also see the impressions and the engagement is quite a lot as well. Not enough users clicked the link to explore or take further actions. Do you understand? Because with this reach and this engagement, sorry.
No, please continue.
Okay, so I said with this reach and this engagement, the click-through rate is actually low, which is not a good thing. So how I think I would want to improve this is um I would use a more compelling CTA, that's call to action, right? I would probably
Yeah.
refine my CTA so that when people take a glance of it and they'll probably be more interested to want to click, right? And I would also try and as much as possible, that's for these particular metrics, I would try as much as possible to improve my content, probably get a more solid content for the shoe brand, and also, yes, I think I'll focus more on better audience targeting. And what I mean by this is, instead of just doing since the shoe vendor is launched the campaign during Ramadan. So I would mostly focus on the Muslims, and this would even happen a day before Ramadan, just to capture the people who need what I'm selling at that very instance. So these are, I think, I can improve the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. To be very honest, that was really impressive. I personally would also say that I would want to increase the click-through rate, and I agree with everything that you said. On the targeting, considering that it's a Ramadan related campaign, I think that what this person can do is to test with different audiences. So break down fashion and maybe do like fashion luxury instead of targeting just fashion conscious young adults. That's not enough in terms of an interest-based targeting. So maybe add fashion lifestyle or fashion luxury as a different way to target. I also think that you can try that and also compare that with a different audience that is focused on Ramadan shopping and see, just do it, maybe an A/B testing for a while and see which one performs better and then run with whichever one performs better. So if you do that and also then maybe use better creatives, and do your targeting, I believe that your click-through rate is actually going to improve. I also believe that the call to action could be a lot clearer and maybe could have a lot more urgency to it, just to try and motivate people into taking an action. I really like the fact that you touched on different audiences, and I'm really impressed. Thank you very much, Mr. Clements.
Thank
Does
you.
anyone else want to try before we go into the next discussion points? Also, if you have any questions on digital marketing in general, which is what would possibly try and do towards the end, from after this till the end of the session, is to answer any questions anybody might have. So if you have any questions, please also raise your hand, ask your questions, and it doesn't have to be just in relation to what we've learned today, right? From the start of the class till now, if you have any questions on digital marketing in general, lay it on me. I would answer to the best of my abilities. Okay. I'm assuming Mr. Clements has his hand up for a question he has. But before we take that, does anyone want to try with this discussion point, or should we move on to something else? Does anyone else want to try? Okay, all right. Mr. Clements, let's hear your question.
All right. Thanks for having me again.
No
Okay, so
problem.
the question is not relating to the today's class, right? And it's just something I noticed. So as at 2 days ago, I posted something on X, right? And you know how X metrics works, that you're able to see the engagement on the post, and as well you also see, like, I mean, the analytics, right? So there is this part on X that also makes you to allows you to see the views that that post actually attracted, right? So I noticed
Yeah.
that I had 1.1K views, but the what's it called? The the engagement wasn't all that given. So I don't know, for something of such nature, the view was very massive, 1.1K on X, but it attracted very little engagement, lesser likes, and as well lesser comments. How do you think we can optimize such post for next time?
Yeah. So I think the first thing you need to understand is why that happened. If you have a lot of views on your posts and you have very few engagements, for example, you just have maybe um 6 reposts, 2 quotes, and 4 likes, right? That's, you just show you eight reposts and 4 likes. So that's like 12, 13 engagements in total, maximum to be 20. And then you have, let's say, 1.1K views. What you need to realize about that is that people saw it and they scrolled. It means that the post in itself is not engaging. So if you were running it as an ad and the engagement was now still low, then if in terms of optimization, what you probably need to do is to look at a different audience type and a different targeting. Um, Before you then look at maybe trying to possibly promote a different creative. However, if you're not promoting in general and it's just organic performance that you're referring to, then I think that overall you need to think of something that will get people to not just see your tweet on their timeline, but see your tweet, stop, and want to engage. So Twitter is extremely it's unique in the sense that engagement is earned. It is something that you fight and strive for, right? If your post isn't engaging, if it isn't making people laugh, if it's not if it's not giving people the information that they're really looking for in that moment, it's easy to ensure that people don't scroll, is to ensure that the number of people that are following you are looking for your type of content. So if you have 5,000 followers and your content is around, let's say, football, and those 5,000 people don't really like football, you would notice that you would see a lot of views on your posts, but you would not see engagement. So it could be the audience that you have grown organically, not being interested in the content, or the content in itself just needs to be better. If you were promoting, then you should probably look at your targeting and the interest that you have used in targeting, and maybe consider testing a different creative or a different post so that you don't actually waste money. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, thank you. Does anyone else have any question before we move into the second discussion point? Indicate in the comments, you raise your hands, any questions at all? Okay, all right. All right. So let's go into the second and well, possibly final discussion for today. This case study is about a skincare brand that has partnered with two influencers to launch a 5-day campaign promoting their new body butter or shea butter. The campaign ran on Instagram stories and Reels, with the influencers directing traffic to the product page. The brand used 80,000 to boost content focusing on Lagos and Port Harcourt's skincare audiences, mostly women aged 18 to 30. So the campaign performance, after spending 80,000 naira, they got 34,000 people reached and an impression of 100 and won 200 people. Their CPM was 790. Their engagements 4,800 with a cost per engagement at 16 naira. They got 940 link clicks with a CPC rate of 85 naira per click and a CTR of 0.93. So if you were managing this campaign, what metric would you focus on in your reports, and how would you improve it in your next round? Does anyone want to take a spin at this? Does anyone want to try attempting this question? Okay, so if personally I were to optimize this campaign, what I would be doing primarily is, well, I would report the focus of my reports would be on awareness, and that's because from a spend point of view, what the brand did was to spend to boost content. They used influencers to drive conversions and to drive traffic to their landing page, right? If I'm trying to optimize, what I will obviously try and do is to bring down the CPM rates. I think that if you're spending 80,000 naira, your reach and impressions can be a lot better than this, especially your reach numbers. So I think that I would experiment on the targeting and creatives in trying to bring down the impressions. I would also possibly not, if this was my campaign, I wouldn't rely on influencers in driving clicks alone. I would also support that with a little bit of paid spend in order to try and increase the CTR. And I think that's one of the reasons why this person's campaign, the CTR was a little bit low, because they were not really promoting to drive for that. They used influencers, and with influencers, sometimes it could work from an awareness point of view, but when you're trying to drive conversions, the influencer has to really be influential, and that's leaving a lot of things to chance. So when you're running a campaign like this, you would most probably notice that your CTR is low, because again, your focus of this campaign was awareness from a spend point of view. Okay. All right. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? Any other questions before we call it a wrap for this particular digital marketing course? Your questions don't have to be related to just this class. It could be any of the classes we've had, or any question you have on digital marketing in general. a lecturer of mine in uni used to say that when you are teaching and you ask if there are any questions and people don't answer, it means that they either understood everything you said or they did not understand a single word you said. So I'm personally hoping that everyone on the call actually understood everything I've said so that it doesn't feel like I've been speaking to myself for the last 6 weeks. But my assumption is that everyone on the call has 100% understood our discussion on digital marketing, from what it is to what to look out for when trying to optimize and report on your campaign. Okay, so if there are no questions, I would humbly hand over to Mr. Godwin. Thank you guys so much for listening for the last couple of weeks. It's been fun for me. I hope it has been fun and insightful for you guys as well. Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much, Moshope. I feel like we should all put him some flowers for Moshope in the chat box. Let's celebrate him. Thank you so much. This was very insightful. I never knew that digital marketing had this much calculation. So when you were doing percentage times this divided by this, I was lost. And I really thank you for, enlightening us. And that was really interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, let's celebrate him. He has been amazing and he did a good job, in facilitating this course. Yeah, Adara Foundation is not done with you guys yet. So we have entrepreneurship, which is coming up as our last course for this program. And why we decided to put it at the last position is because, the idea of this program is to sort of build capacity of entrepreneurs, that want to have make their business have a better online presence. And when you have, acquired all these skills, it's important to also have financial literacy skills, know how to use money properly to, boost your business. So next weekend we'll be having a new facilitator that will be handling entrepreneurship. Please follow us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And if you're not on our WhatsApp platform, please indicate in the chat box and our community managers will share the links to you guys. Also, please tell your friends that something amazing is happening in Adara Foundation Digital Skills Program so that they can join. At least even if it's one course that they're going to take home with them, that's something to to look forward to. So do have a wonderful weekend. See you guys again next week, Saturday. And bye for now. Thank you.